don't need any of it.
Welcome to today's Muskogee City Council meeting, August 27, 2018. Invocation this evening will be by Councilman Wayne Johnson, and following will be the flag salute.
If you would bow with me in prayer. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, as we come to you this evening, dear Lord, we're so thankful, dear Lord, for the many blessings that you provide for us each and every day. Dear Lord, I ask that you would give the council the wisdom and the direction that we need tonight, dear Lord, to seek out your will in every decision that we make. We're thankful so much, dear Lord, for the leadership that you provided for this city. Dear Lord, I'm thankful, dear Lord, for the men and women that work for the city of Muskogee. I ask, dear Lord, that you would put your protectful hand on them each and every day. We thank you, dear Lord, for the beautiful weather that we've had this time of the year, and the rain and the blessings that you give us each and every day. Ask that you would guide, lead, and protect us. And these things we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the flag salute. Attention. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have the roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Cale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Okay, do I hear
I move that we excuse Councilman Coleman and Councilman Reed.
Second.
a motion and a second? Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We will now look at the minutes for the regular session of August 13th, 2018. Are there additions or corrections to those minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. This may be the shortest consent agenda we have ever had. We have one item on the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to move to the regular agenda?
Move for approval.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second on the consent agenda. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Regular agenda item number 2.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4053A of the City of Muskogee, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 22, Business Regulations, adding Article 16, Medical Marijuana, Sections 22-674, Definitions, 22-675, General Requirements, 22-676, Medical Marijuana Dispensary Allowed and License Requirements, 22-677, Commercial medical marijuana growing and/or processing facilities allowed and license requirements, 22-678, medical marijuana wholesale and/or storage facilities allowed and license requirements, 22-679, medical marijuana growing for personal use allowed and license requirements, 22-680, penalty by providing for repeal or severability and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Tucker, would you address this item for us?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, thank you. I would like to ask Mr. Beasy to head to the podium while I make a few introductory comments. As you all recall, last week when we discussed this in committee, it was approved. I will tell you that the version you have before you tonight is different. Mr. Beasy is going to go through the changes. A copy of this was sent to you over the weekend for you to look at, and Mr. Beasy does have additional copies available at the podium for those who may wish to look at those. So with that, Mr. Beasy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, City Attorney Tucker. Mayor, members of council, what you have before you is final version 6 of our medical marijuana ordinance. Substantively, the major portions related to business have not changed. The one minor change in the business sections for both processing, growing, and then storage and warehouse was to provide that the license issued by the city had to be conspicuously posted. The next major change related to the business licenses specifically is we have a paragraph regarding ensuring that the buildings were secured. And in that paragraph relating to the securing of the buildings, we made reference to what would mirror our Knox box ordinance. If you recall, a few years ago, anytime a new commercial business is built and opened, we required them to place a Knox box on the building, and we had language in this ordinance which mirrored that. In fact, that is duplicative. It's required in the Knox box ordinance itself, so we did take that out. However, any new commercial business, whether it relates to medical marijuana or otherwise, would be required to comply with those standards. The final, more substantive change to this ordinance would be the final section related to personal growing. In reviewing this ordinance, Attorney Tucker and I had spent a number of hours discussing different ways to approach this. The basis of our discussion went back to what the state has done and what the state has changed in the direction the state may be going. The initial draft of this, which began 6 to 8 weeks ago, was taking into account the proposals the state put forward. As the state made changes, we made changes. And in doing so, we realized the direction that the state was heading was lessening more and more the requirements for personal use and personal growing. And so what we did is mirrored the same thing. Therefore, we removed the section related to personal growing. There will be no registration, as we discussed before. This is now in its purest form what it was intended to be in the beginning, which is a business license registration. It has no concern whether it's marijuana or any other business which comes into the city. We are simply taking what the state has set forth that they believe the necessary requirements for medical marijuana businesses are. We've put those into place, and now our ordinance complies with that. My final caveat would be, as we said last week, this will change again. This may change in October. It may change in November. It most certainly will change when January rolls around and there's a new legislative session. As we've done that, we've crafted this in such a way and we've included language which will allow us to keep up with any changes the state may put in place. Some of the language will be automatic. As the state sees fit, this will modify. There will be other times where it may be more substantive that we would have to come back to you and ask for changes to the language itself. But we've drafted this in such a way that we can keep up with it in a more proactive way. Therefore, I would recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
One other thing I do want to point out that we have modified was, as discussed last time, setting the fee for the business license registration. You may recall that language was included in the body of this ordinance. We have taken that out, which is historically become our practice is to put all fees in our Schedule 8 or ordinances. So any reference to a specific fee, what we have done is say, include language that says it shall be established in accordance with Schedule A. And the next item, item number 3, will establish those fees. So that was a change from the ordinances that was discussed also on Tuesday night.
Okay. We have several people who have signed up to speak to this issue. And in the introduction, let me just say that if some of your questions have already been answered by some of the changes that have been made and you don't see it necessary to speak, feel free to just say, that you will pass when your name is called. Otherwise, we will go ahead and call these people to the podium and have them speak. Terry Thompson, you'd come to the podium, please. And Terry, give us your name and your address, please, sir. And you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Terry Thompson, also known as Harv. I wanted to speak on a couple things. Y'all did answer quite a few of the questions we had. I'm going to take one of these with me and read over it. And I appreciate y'all's consent and thinking about this from the standpoint of 788 and not going sideways from their direction. And I want to commend y'all on that. I appreciate that. One of the reasons I'm in this fight is my stepfather currently is fighting cancer, as well as a classmate who was just diagnosed with stage 4. So it's a very, neither one of them is going to be able to grow their own. They're not going to be able to afford to go and buy it from a dispensary like a lot of folks. So they're going to have a caregiver. They're going to have somebody that can grow it at home for them or help them grow. And so it was very important to me to see those changes made here in the city. And I think, business-wise, just taking it in as an economic boom, I know some may find that kind of hard to absorb, but I think it'll be a positive. I personally went through a 8-year battle that I didn't even know I was battling with opiates as prescribed and as recommended by the doctor. And I left Muskogee for a while because I lost 8 years and didn't even know it. And I came back to Muskogee, and this is one of the reasons I came back. And I want to stay home. My family's here, and I appreciate y'all taking that into consideration. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Bradley Lindsay, if you would approach the microphone, please, and give us your name and your address when you do that, please. Okay, thank you, sir. Jonathan Robert Geiger, give us your name and your address, please.
Yes, my name is Jonathan Robert Geiger. My address is 3609 Old Shawnee Road, trailer number 5. I was just wanting to ask from an opinion of a parent that has 2 disabled children. One, my youngest has a really rare genetic disorder called 1p36 deletion syndrome and 22q12 and q13 duplications, which he was born with, which causes an intractable epilepsy, which attacks his respiratory system, which is the only form of epilepsy that is actually deadly. Is when he has a seizure, it actually attacks his respiratory system and stops him from being able to saturate his blood right. I was wondering what the public school systems and what the city council is going to actually implement as far as regulatory factors on patients being able to consume their medicine that is prescribed by a doctor that's licensed in this state, and how those regulatory factors are going to affect my children and those alike.
Mr. Tucker, Mr. BC, should we get into answering those questions?
Whatever the state is allowing with regard to that will be allowed within the city.
Okay, because as far as I heard, I've seen a lot of, talk about that not being a possibility. That being thrown up in the air. That being kind of a conflict of interest for some people. And I'm just one parent out of hundreds probably that actually need their children to be able to access this medicine, because the pharmaceuticals that he is on inhibit him from being able to develop, because it messes with his equilibrium and its balance. So those are 2 key factors in development, and he has a developmental disability which is coupled with epilepsy.
We do not have any registration requirements for personal growth, nor a caregiver's license or any of those licenses. Those are not required under this ordinance.
Okay.
They are required, of course, by the state, as you probably know. So if you have a license from the state, that shouldn't impact you here in the city of Muskogee.
And as far as that goes, is with the state, what if they change the position that's currently held on public schools and how students or patients will be able to access this medicine in our community?
Well, that will be up, of course, to the state and to the school system. We wouldn't have any jurisdiction over that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Billy Sanders. Your name and your address, sir, and you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Billy Sanders. My address is 2423 Canterbury Avenue in Muskogee, Oklahoma. This is different for me as a marijuana activist and a patient advocate. Normally when I speak before a body like this, I have been for the past many months helping you see the value of medical marijuana as a health choice alternative, helping you see that it doesn't ruin communities, that it doesn't ruin lives, that it doesn't cause traffic problems, and in instructing you on the endocannabinoid system and how marijuana works. That's over. We already said, 57% of Oklahoma said, yes, we want that. Also, 57% of Muskogee County said, yes, we want that. And 60.5% of the city of Muskogee said, yes, we want that. So my convincing you of the necessity and the value of marijuana is no longer an issue. Also, you've thrown me for a bit of a loop by changing almost everything that I was going to ask you to look at by reducing the patient license requirement. As I said, I'm a patient advocate. That's why I got involved in the movement to begin with, and I'm out for the patient's well-being. And again, I couldn't be happier that you struck those items from the ordinance. I am very pleased that Muskogee is not taking the standard route that many of the towns in Oklahoma are. They are saying, we don't want this in our town. They're saying, we're going to charge you $2,000 for a personal grow fee. We're going to charge businesses $10,000 for a grow fee. And we're in a unique position in history. We became famous in America. Why? Because we don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee. And now in Oklahoma, we can become a state leader, a community that welcomes marijuana business, marijuana grow, marijuana research. These companies, any and all of these endeavors, will invest from $1.5 to $3 million in the first 2 years of being open. As we spend our tax dollars offering incentives for industry to come here, the marijuana industry is one to consider. Jobs will be high-paying jobs. About $15 an hour is about the average. And as much as we can encourage the businesses to come here. Folks, we've moved way, way out of the Cheech and Chong days. The men and women and companies willing to invest $3 million in a marijuana dispensary are not fly-by-night, shady things. The state has developed a great program requiring identification, security of buildings, seed-to-sale tracking, monthly audits of how much product a dispensary buys and how much they sell. Penalties for selling to people who aren't patients are such that a dispensary would pay $5,000 the first time, and the second time they could possibly lose their license. This is a well-regulated program, and even now the state legislature is in talks to implement a permanent, we're operating now under emergency rules set forth by the Oklahoma Department of Health, and even now there are talks going on. We have a representative in Edmond today, and we'll be back tomorrow trying to streamline, and I think we'll have permanent rules from the legislature sooner rather than later. So that's going to be a good thing. Again, I just couldn't be prouder to be a Muskogee citizen to see that we're not trying to keep out industry that is going to happen. There are currently estimated about $400 million of sales, of illegal sales of marijuana in the state of Oklahoma. We'll reduce that amount by a little by implementing a medical program. Approximately 2.3% of citizens enroll in a medical marijuana program. That equals about 1,100 to 1,200 people in Muskogee. That number will grow. The state has accepted a lot of applications, over $2 million in fees thus far in the last 3 days, and I am out of time and could speak for hours. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. John Tarkington, you would be next, and
My name is John Tarkington, and I live at 3106 Toll Place here in the big town of Muskogee. And I had a bunch of bull I was going to sit up here and say to you guys, which I didn't like you, and all this stuff. I'm sorry. Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing for us today. This takes us quantum leaps ahead of anybody else in Oklahoma. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm just proud of you guys. I didn't expect it. I did not expect it. I figured we'd be crucified or run out of town on a rail. Thank God. Thank you guys. Thank you.
okay, that's everybody that has signed up to speak to this item. Council want to now have discussion on the item.
Move for approval.
Second.
For your motion and your seconds, I just want to make sure that that is the ordinance as amended.
As amended.
Okay.
We have a second as well?
Yep, second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Okay, is there discussion regarding this item? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries.
Mayor, have the emergency as well.
Emergency mode.
We now have an emergency, declare an emergency on this item to consider.
Move to approve the emergency on this item.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on emergency? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of Resolution Number 2737, adopting amendment to Appendix A of the Muskogee City Code pertaining to schedule of fees and charges per attached list, medical marijuana license fees, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker again on this item.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, as I made in my introductory comments, we have taken the fees out of the body of the ordinance and proposed to put them into Schedule A, which has been our practice for the last several years. So the proposed fees are the same as were discussed in committee, and that is a license fee for a medical marijuana dispensary of $750, for commercial medical marijuana growing and or processing at $750, and wholesale or storage facility $750. You will see in the proposed ordinance there is the fee still remaining for the personal use. That has been stricken, of course, in light of what was passed tonight. So if you approve this, I ask that you approve it as amended, striking the fee for marijuana growing for personal use.
Move for approval, striking the fee and as amended.
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 4.
Consider approval of submitting a grant application to PetSmart Charities for a spay and neutering program for the animal shelter in the amount of $25,000 or take other necessary action.
Chief T.
Good evening, Council. This is just the approval to be able to submit a application for a grant. It's non-matching, so it's just a grant amount for $25,000 for spay and neutering in the city. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Move the approval.
Got a
Second.
motion and a second. Any question or comment? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider the appointment of Melanie Carey to serve on the Historic Preservation Commission, filling the unexpired term of Joshua Cazares, beginning August 28, 2018, and expiring April 30th, 2019, or take other necessary action.
Councilor Van.
Yeah, this is my appointment to the Historical Preservation Commission. I know Ms. Carey a long time, and I know she'll be a good fit for this board, and I'd like y'all's approval. Only it's for 1 year, and when this year is up, I would like another councilman, in case I'm not the one doing the appointing. I hope y'all would appoint her for the remainder of, I think it's a 3-year term, a 4-year term.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look for you.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Cale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. I have been reminded we have citizens to speak now, and we have 4 or 5 of those to address. That there is a YouTube video of the council meetings, so feel free to have that. Several people were filming and so forth, but if you want to find that, that's accessible on YouTube on the city's webpage. Mr. Tucker. Mark Patel. These are non-agenda items, so we won't be able to speak back to you, so
All right. Thank you, Mayor
you
Coburn.
have 3 minutes. Give us your name and your address.
Mark Patel, 2819 Military Boulevard, Muskogee, Oklahoma. Mayor Coburn, City Councilman, I'm here today on behalf of Muskogee Hotel Lodging Association, and we realize what the City Council, the mayor, has done for the city since we've adopted the MHLA in Muskogee. And on behalf, we'd like to invite the City Council, the Mayor, Ray Tucker, even Mike Miller, to a luncheon on September 13th at the Rib Crib, just to show our appreciation of what you guys do and to thank you for what you do for the city of Muskogee. And I'll have Heather give the invitations.
You have a handout, Heather?
Yeah, she has a handout.
All right.
Hopefully, all of you guys can make it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Whoops, yeah. Got it.
Pass it down. They gave us too many. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
For Marlon, if we want to put that at his position. Ivory Van.
Yes, before I get started, I was going to ask the council, could I have an extra 2 minutes? Because I wanted to thank some people that's very important here tonight.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any question or comment? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Here, yes, yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, and I'm here too. Motion carries. Mr. Hall. I'm sorry, Mr. Van.
First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Dr. Dianca Finch. She's from Washington, D.C., and Rochelle Kraft. They done a program at the Martin Luther King Center this past weekend for our kids here in Muskogee from 9th grade to 12th grade. And when Ms. Dr. Dianca Finch gets up to speak, she'll tell about the program. But it's a very, very good program. We had a good turnout. And I tell you, she brought Washington to Muskogee, Oklahoma. She brought great ideas, and the students just loved it. But I'll let her finish that up when she gets up to talk about, the program. The second item I would like to bring to your attention is we had a balloon festival put on by the parks and many sponsors. But it was a councilman up here. I mean, when I say he came through for the kids and the children here in Muskogee, Oklahoma, Mr. Patrick Kell here, he came through. There's a lot of children you don't realize, and their parents cannot afford to ride the balloons. They couldn't afford to play in the jump houses. But Mr. Patrick Kell stepped up. This was his idea. He gave $750 to help those kids get in those balloons and play in those jump houses. And I just want to say, Mr. Kell, I commend you. There was a little boy out there, and when I was passing out a ticket to him, and it really took me off guard. The little boy said, "Thank you, sir." He said, "I'm sorry, my family couldn't afford it," but he said, "God helps us, may God help you." And that little boy was 6 years old. I could not believe it. I mean, he just took me off my feet. But if it hadn't been for you, Councilman Kell, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have been possible. So I thank you for your idea, and I thank the Parks Department for getting the tickets together. I just thank everyone that was a part of the balloon festival that we had here in the city of Muskogee, Oklahoma.
I hate to interrupt you here. I was certainly happy to do it. Let me thank you for heading up that program and supplying the tickets out for the kids and meeting the folks. And I know you spent a lot of time out there at the event on all three events, so thank you for your hard work.
Now I guess we'll turn the floor over to Ms. Dr. Dianca Finch from Washington, D.C. And like I said, this is one lovely young lady, and she is passionate about what she does. I mean, I've known her a long time, and I respect her highly, and I'm so proud of her.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening, Mayor and the City Council. As Avery stated, my name is Dianca Finch. I grew up here. I went to school here, and my family still lives here, and I come here frequently. On Saturday, we put on what we call our College Day. It was the first for Muskogee. My business, Educational Synapse Consulting, basically we partner with private and public companies to put on college seminars for them. And we try to do college education and outreach. Also, we try to do science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and neuroscience. So me being a trained neuroscientist, we have a high emphasis on trying to get students into the science careers, whether it be engineering, whether it be grafting, whether it be chemistry. We really try to push science. So our College Day event was open to Muskogee, as well as surrounding communities, which included Haskell, Porter, Mounds, Shakota, Tulsa, and Wagner. And we had a lot of turnout from a lot of the surrounding communities, even Tulsa, and we had a couple of students from Hilldale. The setup of the program was basically in 2 sessions. The first session was a seminar about college preparation and financial aid and how to search for scholarships for the 11th and 12th graders. And the second part of the seminar was for 9th and 10th graders about time management and what parents should be doing to help their students get into college. We strongly believe that everybody has the ability to go to college. Intelligence, IQ, it's equally distributed amongst gender, races, and all people. So we wanted to emphasize that at the College Day event, and we had a very good turnout with light refreshments. And we planned on having another event in March of 2019 called Books and Bagels, where students are able to bring college applications and their essays, and we will help them one-on-one fill out a packet and send that off. So we've received a packet from Ivory on behalf of Muskogee, and I wanted to say thank you on behalf of myself. I'm the owner of the company as well as my director of marketing and communications, and you will be receiving further emails and correspondence about the next event in March. It's free, it's open to anyone, and it's our way of giving back because people have invested in us and we want to give back to where we came from. Thank you.
Dr. Finch, thank you and welcome home. Jamie Stout.
Hey, Jamie Stout, 319 Kingsway. I wanted to inform about the Great American Dodgeball Festival that's coming up on September the 15th. The Dodgeball Festival will be held at Muskogee High School and will benefit a Soldier's Child organization. A Soldier's Child organization is something I've been a part of for the last several years, and they give back to the children of our fallen soldiers all across the country. There's about 3,500 kids enrolled in the program. And then in November 2nd and 3rd, we will be hosting a shopping and wrapping event here in Muskogee. On that Friday evening, we'll be going out to Walmart and shopping for about 150 kids out of the almost 300 that's enrolled for December. And then wrapping those gifts and preparing those to be shipped all across the country on Saturday. And then the kids will receive the box, and then they have to wait until their birthday to open them. And so it's a really cool organization, and I just wanted to invite everybody out to join us.
Jamie, how long have you been involved with Soldier's Child? 5, 6, 7 years?
5, 6, 7 years, yeah. This will be our 3rd event here in Muskogee, and then we've held about 3 events in Tulsa.
All right, thank you. That's everyone that has signed up to speak. We'll now go to item 6A on the agenda.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the pending tort claim of Judy McCoy, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Entertain a motion for executive session.
Move that we go into executive session.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van. Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. We will now, motion carries. We'll now go into executive session. If you please excuse us. We will now reconvene for executive session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Cale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Item 6A. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss the pending tort claim of Judy McCoy. After being fully briefed to the status of that claim, including the factual issues surrounding it, I believe an appropriate motion would be to approve payment of the tort claim in the amount of $5,174.02 and to further authorize the city attorney to file a friendly suit related to the same.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. That concludes our agenda. Thank you.